In this video, we are going to learn how to visualize data, formulas, and scorecards using Edge2Web's no-code dashboard builder, including grid-based and spatial layouts. Starting at the app homepage, we can navigate to the dashboard builder by dropping down the Tools menu and clicking on Dashboard Builder. When you first load the dashboard builder, you will see the toolbar and an empty dashboard editor. Starting with the toolbar, there are several buttons that are enabled and disabled. When enabled, you can hover over a button to see its tooltip that describes the button. Click the Open button. This will open up the dashboard selector. The dashboard selector allows you to manage dashboards by creating or deleting dashboards and selecting existing dashboards to edit. In a previous video, we created a couple of formulas and a scorecard. I've gone ahead and created some additional formulas and scorecards to use here, so let's get started. Click the Create button and enter a name for your dashboard. I'll choose the name Parts Tracker because I want to use various displays to see what my machine is doing at a glance. Below the name, we have a list of initial layouts. This list contains multiple common layouts that are designed to help guide your creation of a new dashboard. They are particularly useful when you want to skip the layout process and jump right into placing components on your dashboard. For the purpose of this video, I will be creating a simple dashboard, so I will leave the first dashboard layout selected. Click Create to save and load your new dashboard. Notice that several buttons in the toolbar became enabled when we loaded a dashboard. We will not cover every button in this video extensively, but the functionality may be useful to you when building your own dashboards. So please refer to the help page to answer any questions you may have. After the dashboard loaded, we start in what is called the preview editing mode. If you prefer a data structured oriented view, click the edit mode switch to enter into structured editing mode. This mode is particularly useful when changing a lot of options quickly or finely tuning the arrangement of your components. In this video, our simple dashboard is best created in the preview editing mode, so let's switch back to it. Below the toolbar, the dashboard editor has been loaded with our new dashboard. On it, you can see the single row that matches our initial layout that we selected. A placeholder component with instructions on how to replace it is inside of it too. Let's start by clicking the magic wand to open the component palette. In the component palette, there are a list of types. Each category contains a list of components. For instance, opening the scorecards type, I will see a list of saved scorecards created in the scorecard builder. Let's click and drag the energy component onto my dashboard. Now this scorecard isn't what I want, so I can drag the component into the dashboard icon placed above the list of categories to remove the component, or I can click the undo button on the toolbar. I'm going to start laying out the idea for my dashboard. I know I want a couple of scorecards that I already created. I want the good count %, the scrap count %, and the total parts display. Each component you drag onto your dashboard is editable. Hover over a component to see its edit button in the top right of the component. Container components such as rows are editable, but their button is in the top left as shown. Let's edit the first scorecard. Opening the component options pop-up, you will see lots of input options. At the top of every component's options, there is a place to change the component type. Here I have a scorecard, but if I click the drop-down list, the list of types is similar to what the component palette shows. For the scorecard type, the name is also a selectable field, allowing you to change what scorecard to use with a convenient button to link back to the scorecard builder. Below this, each component will have a paginated list of options. Each component is unique, and because developers can create their own custom components using the Edge2Web Director low-code app builder tool, it would be impossible to list all of the options in the help page. So the best way to see what an option does is to hover over it and view its tooltip. For this scorecard, I want to remove the border, remove the title, and remove its time range. Now I'm going to copy these options to the other scorecards. Let's add some more components to the dashboard. It would be nice to see the state of the machine in relation to the data being displayed, so I'm going to open up the state display type and drag a state indicator in front of my scorecards. Then I will modify its component options to make it as wide as a header, and then modify the row to make it look more cohesive by removing the margin, turning on the border, and turning off the title. It will be helpful not just to see the current state of the machine, but the history of states too. The state gauge chart component is a cool component to use because it not only provides a timeline of states, it is also interactable. That means the user can click on the component and make any changes that they need to, then the dashboard will be updated whenever they save it. We will see this in action later on in the video when we run the dashboard. Now I'm going to click and drag the component onto my dashboard, rearrange it, and change its column width to be as wide as the component above it. The last component I want to add to my dashboard is a widget. The time series is a widget that I want to choose because I want to see a graph of the time series data. I'll drag it onto my dashboard, rearrange it, and then modify its options. First, I will modify its columns to be as wide as the state gauge chart above it. Then I can modify what is shown on the chart by editing the series properties. The series properties editor allows you to add and remove multiple properties to display on the graph and modify the primary and secondary axes. I'll keep it simple by adding a good counter in green, and then adding a scrap counter and making it red. Then I will save it, save my options, and now it looks pretty much done. Let's save the dashboard and then click the test icon to see how it looks with real data. When running a dashboard, you must first select an asset using the asset selector. Dashboards are only compatible with individual assets, so while you can use an asset group to quickly find an asset, you cannot select the asset group itself. After selecting an asset, the dashboard will load and a time range selector will appear at the top of the page. With this, you can control the time range of the data shown with some preset shift configurations, some generic time ranges, and a custom time range. You can also modify the time zone and the refresh interval of the page. I'm going to change the time range to be the previous shift so we have more data to view. Here you can see the dashboard we just created filled with real data coming from our selected asset. Dashboards are more than just a visual representation of our data. Depending on the component, it is also interactable too. I previously mentioned how a state gain chart on my dashboard can be used to make changes to the state. Let's see how that works. I can click on any state in the gain chart to open it up in the Asset State Updater. Here I can see the zoomed in section of our timeline that I clicked on, and below is all the states that appear in the data table. For the sake of brevity, we will not discuss the Asset State Updater in its entirety, but let's see how we can modify our states and see the updates reflected live on the dashboard. Let's say that the selected state is slightly incorrect. The machine was down, yes, but it was down for a couple of reasons. So I'm going to split the selected state. Then I'm going to change blocked equipment to something like safety. I can add a short comment about saying that it's going to be a manual override. But I don't need to add who or when the state was modified because once I click OK, and then I click Save, the audit trail will be automatically updated. Once I click Save, we can see that our interactable state gain chart component has been updated, and I can even manually refresh the page to verify my update. Now that we have seen what is possible with the Dashboard Builder, let's transition to the Spatial Dashboard Builder. We can navigate to the Spatial Dashboard Builder by dropping down the Tools menu and clicking on Spatial Builder. I'm going to start by opening the Spatial Dashboard selector. I plan to make two spatial dashboards, one with a map and one with an image. The first one I would create would be called the Site Layout. Clicking on Create, you'll notice that this creator is much different from when we created a normal dashboard, and there are many fields. Starting with the name, I'll call this one the Site Layout. I don't want a default primary asset, but I do want to select an image, so I will select an image already uploaded. For the card defaults, I want to select a default scorecard, which is one I already created in another video called the parts produced. Next, I want to select the reason state indicator, and lastly I'll select a default icon for all of these cards. Then I'll just create the new dashboard and select it to load it. There are lots of buttons on the toolbar, so as usual, refer to the help page for any questions about what they do. As you may notice based on the background image of this dashboard, I'm planning to add a card for each machine in my line, so I'll use the plus icon on the toolbar to add 7 more cards. I can click and drag each component onto my dashboard similar to what we did with the normal dashboard in components. Then, because I already modified the card defaults, all I have to do is select an asset for each card and modify its name. So using the asset selector, I will select my first asset of the line and update its name to reflect the name of the asset. I'll repeat this process for each card in my line. Now that each card is configured, I have one last card I want to add. I want one to open up a dashboard by default as a general overview for the line. I'll add a new card, drag it onto the screen, and configure it so that I can choose the sealer asset as my asset, update its name to reflect the dashboard I want to show, and then select the dashboard I want to view. I'll also have the card open by default. Let's save this spatial layout to see how it looks, and then we can test it. I think it looks great. We've got our overall OEE view on the left, and I can see the state of each machine at a glance from the header. I can also hover over the header of each asset so I can see what state it's specifically in. If I open up one of these cards, I can see a nice view about how the machine is producing its parts. Back in the Spatial Dashboard Builder, I'm going to create a second spatial dashboard. Opening up the selector again, I can click the Create button to create another dashboard. This one is going to be called Sitemap. Instead of an image type, I'm going to select Map, and I'm also going to select the dashboard I want to have as default. The rest of my card defaults can remain as is, so I'm going to click Create and select my new dashboard. After I selected the new dashboard, you can see that we have a map. I'll add the 2 components to this map, starting with the London site. And then I can add one for the New York site. Now if I scroll farther on the map, we can see both of the icons we have for the 2 assets that we have selected. I can open up both of these and enter a name for both of them. And that's all the changes I need, so I'm going to save this and run it again so we can see how it looks. Having run the dashboard, I can zoom out again to see both of my assets. I'll click on the New York asset so I can expand it and see its dashboard. While this dashboard may look simple with just an image and a button, the button has some nice functionality. I've configured it to open up the spatial dashboard we previously created. I'll click it and show how it works. Now I've opened the same spatial dashboard we've already seen, but it's connected through another dashboard via the button. As you've seen, this allows you to create very useful overviews at each level of your asset hierarchy. We've gone from a global view of sites across the world to drilling into one of the sites specifically. From there, we can view the assets of the line and even go as far as opening up a card for each asset in the line. Edge2Web's no-code dashboard builders give plant engineers, data analysts, and other non-programmers a powerful solution for turning industrial data into contextualized, actionable insights. You can easily create grid-based and spatial layouts to handle a wide range of shop floor application use cases. This video only scratches the surface of what is possible using these powerful visualization tools. Thanks for watching.